So this is a new format, I guess. I don't think I've ever done a travel kind of vlog before. A couple of weeks back, my dear mum, hello, had a milestone birthday. She turned 21 and it was also Mother's Day, so we booked I booked a trip to New England, America. Yeah, as you can kind of guess from the mini intro video, we ended up in Salem. So it was a place my mom has been talking about for a while, and yeah, January, I think it was actually like December 31st, so New Year's Eve, I just booked it. So here is our trip to Massachussetts. So we took a plane from Exeter to Dublin, and then from Dublin all the way to Boston Logan, and that was one hell of a so yeah, day one. After that long flight, we woke up and I couldn't believe we were actually in Massachusetts. Out of the window I could see like a big massive American flag hanging off the building, so I was really taken away with like how like pretty like the buildings are, like the houses and everything, and most of them are kind of wooden built, so that was definitely a nice feature. There's a couple of brick buildings there, but I couldn't believe we were actually there. And that cemetery, I think, is Google. Then we got dropped off just outside the Salem Witch Museum, so it's a famed hotspot. We actually didn't go in, it was just because we'd read reviews, and so we decided to venture over to Salem Common instead, and we were just blessed with like such a beautiful day. I mean, the weather there, it was very hit and miss. Some days we had sunshine and then other days we had snow, as you'll see later on in the video. So yeah, Salem Common, one of the points where I think that George Washington gave his final farewell tour of his presidency or something. And Salem was actually home of the first National Guard in America, so that's what the pillar thing that I'm about to walk up to is. So it was the first place of the East Regiment, first muster, something like that. We ended up on Washington Square, and just left there, that's the famous Hawthorne Hotel, and just down from that is the statue of Nathaniel Hawthorne, although there's speculation whether or not it is actually Nathaniel Hawthorne. So he's the writer of the Scarlet Letter, and also the House of the Seven Gables. All around Salem there were like these little sharing library hubs, and it was just nice, you know. It's kind of like that honesty box thing here in the UK and things. So we ended up at the famed Salem Witch Trials Memorial just off Charter Street, and yeah, I just kind of felt very it was very much a solemn thing, and very kind of surreal being there, because I mean, people think, oh, Salem, it's witchy, it's fun and all that thing, but I mean, these were like innocent people condemned to death because of like mad hysteria that overtook the town and things. So at the entrance of the memorial there is flagstones with the confessions carved in, so yeah, it was just very solemn, and each of them denied witchcraft and things, you know. They very much professed their innocence right up until their death. So in the memorial there are these ledgers, and they have the names of the victims of the Salem witch trials. So people leave gifts and offerings in memory and to pay their respects. So like I said, it was very kind of solemn, so I didn't really feel great like recording these, even though we should kind of keep these people's innocence alive. So just down from the memorial, there is Salem Witch Village, so that's a series of like stores and like exhibits and things like that. And yeah, just down from that I got to see my first like Halloween display, and it's not even Halloween. It was fabulous, you know, so it was nice to see some representation around the place as well. So that was our first food stop, I think. So that was Lulu. It was named after a silent actress, silent film actress. So yeah. Then we ended up on the famed Essex Street. So this is kind of where the hub is. This is where like the heartbeat of Salem is. And our first stop was the Nightmare Gallery. So I was just like absolutely thrilled, you know, horror's my thing. So yeah, all of the shops really outdid themselves on like the display. So it was Krampus. That shop, it's actually like a wizardry kind of shop. So the guy outside was very friendly. He let me record him and things. So instead of just normal stores, like gift stores and things, they actually have like tours in the back, like most of these stores and things. So this one was, I think his pitch was like to join a quest and meet an ice dragon or something. So yeah, we decided not to meet the ice dragon that day, but we did return like another day. Then I was running across the road with my short little legs, trying not to get run over. And across the rainbow path, of course. All throughout Salem there's a yellow line, and that's kind of like where all of the landmarks are. So if you're a tourist, stick to the yellow line. And I think we just kind of forfeited, even though I kept saying like stick to the yellow line. We veered off. We ended up at the marina.
Are you ashamed of me? Huh? Well, we were following the map. I kind of did. What are we trying to look for? House of Seven Gables. So we're following the map. And then I think we've just got to stick to the yellow line. I think that's part of it.
So yeah, Salem was a massive like trade harbour back in the 1700s and 1800s and everything else. So that was very much where all of the ships would come in, and they'd have to declare all of their goods at the customs house just over the way. And I could hear someone whistling down the street, and it was a very kind of like cheerful tune, but I couldn't see who was actually whistling, so that was a bit like, oh, okay. That's my mom pointing out the fact that we were looking for the House of the Seven Gables. I think there was like some mannequins sat in a rocking chair or something on the balcony. And lo and behold,
we followed the yellow line. And there.
And it was just so peaceful in the actual like the grounds and things of the House of the Seven Gables. So that's where Nathaniel Hawthorne was actually born. That was his birthplace. So the houses haven't changed more or less since like the 1600s, 1700s. Day 2 we ended up at the famous Peabody Essex Museum. So I think it cost us about $50, so that was like $25 each, and inside they had everything and anything. So a lot of like Chinese artifacts and sculptures and things. So this was actually a massive bell from the Jiangsu province, and yeah, it was just so intricate. And then we went up to the Salem witch trials like exhibit, and again, much like the memorial, the charter memorial place, I just felt very kind of solemn. It wasn't really a place of like something to be excited about. Again, these were like innocent men, women and children. I mean, there was a child I think died in prison. So yeah, I just kind of took their names in. There were confessions on the walls and things, signed confessions of these innocent people. And yeah, this was a bit of a tricky room. So because Salem is kind of like a marine town, like it's a harbour town, these were ship things that go on the front of the ships. And yeah, inside this there was just this really trippy kind of Scottish, like a mermaid siren song almost. So if I forgot to mention, you know, if there's any text on screen, be sure to pause and read if you wish to. I was very kind of quick with the camera work. The next exhibition was All the Flowers Are For Me, and it was very much like shadow work, and I'm a big fan of like Lottie Reiniger, and she actually took inspiration from like the Indian shadow puppet shows and things. So I just love that light and shadow aspect. And then of course some witchy sort of like artifacts on display, posters and this was the burning of the Luxembourg Alley. So this was almost set up like a comic book strip. So each painting was like a different panel almost, and just tells the story of like the burning of the Luxembourg Alley. And again, like I said, they were just kind of like massive scaled ships and things, and I was just kind of taken with the intricacy. I've got like a weird fascination with ships at the minute. I don't know what that is. Then the next room housed the black books. And then, like I said, it was just a mixture of different things. So this was a statue from the Easter Island. Then they had a sculpture from India. Yeah, it was, again, that was like bigger than me in scale and things. So feel free to pause and read. These were just kind of like quotes and things on the wall that I just found interesting. And this was out of a bank, actually. This was like a massive mural that was on one of the old bank walls, and it was transferred to the Peabody Essex Museum. So I just found it funny that it was like peace, commerce and prosperity. So then we ended up at Which City Mall, and I mean, it was absolutely dead in there. That was really like eerie. So some of the stores were open, but there were just like no one around. Then we ended up in Hex, I think it's called Hex, and this was kind of like the first witchy, like occult shop that we ended up in, and it was just fabulous. You know, the vibe was just amazing, and it was very much kind of light and dark, and obviously like witches. So then, I mean, brace yourselves. I mean, this was like the highlight of the trip for me. It really was. So this was the amazing International Monster Museum, and I think the guy that owned it was called Austin, and he was just like such a chill guy. But yeah, just watch.
We're not supposed to touch you.
Hey, come on. Come on. Quick, run, run. Run. You can't. Look, I'm here. That's probably the worst bit, I swear. Come on, quick. Well done. Oh, Jesus. I love this. This is fab. I'll go first. It's not real.
That was me being brave. Then I think we ended back in the mall, and we needed food after that. So this was a photo up on the wall of like Salem and how it looked. Probably like early Victorian times, I suppose. We ended up on Essex Street again, I think. Yeah. So we were actually looking for the Ropes Mansion. So we ended up at the Witch House, which is like a famous landmark in Salem. So if you see that, you know you're definitely in Salem. So courtesy of Google, because I didn't prepare any notes. So it's actually, the Salem Witch House is actually known as the Jonathan Corman House. He was one of the judges at the Salem witch trial, so that was his home. And I mean, it does look ominous and foreboding and things. So these were Puritan, God-fearing people, so everything was very much kind of like just get on with the daily life and worship and everything else. Kind of ventured down the road a little bit and came across the famous Ropes Mansion. So if you don't know this house, it was actually featured in Hocus Pocus, and that's kind of how it was made famous. So Nathaniel Ropes Mansion is a Georgian colonial mansion located at 318 Essex Street in Salem, Massachusetts. that's kind of it, I suppose. Like I said, it was kind of made famous due to Hocus Pocus. So we ventured over to the garden at the side, and nothing was really in bloom. It was very much kind of winter and still in Salem. So that pond had fish, and that was a sundial, so feel free to pause and read. I'm trying to catch up with the video. And yeah, I don't know if it was because it was snowing and things, it just felt very kind of like cold and not much to it, to be honest, apart from being famous. So I was really excited. We ended up, I think this was day 3, so I didn't really film much of day 3 just because it was very much like a day at the North Shore Mall, which was close to kind of where we were staying and things, in Peabody. So we ventured over. It was great to kind of see like an American mall and how it all is, and it's huge. I mean, we're both short, so it took us a day to kind of walk around it. And then because I was hungry and I was so excited to kind of step inside a massive grocery store, we ended up finding Shaw's. And yeah, like I said, everything was just kind of massive there, so that's like the popcorn compared to my hand and things. So the coffee was terrible there. We ended up buying this coffee, like Folgers coffee or something, and it was just shite. I think it was just full of sugar and things, and it didn't really hit the spot. But yeah, we ended up finding like Nescafe and things, and was it Barry's tea? I think I ended up finding, yeah, Barry's tea. Can't go anywhere and there's the Irish. Skipping through, I ended up getting crackers and chocolate chip cookies, and yeah, I think I'd seen these before, like Cheez-It crackers, so I wasn't sure how they taste, and I didn't really like the taste, to be honest. They just kind of taste like fried cheese. Oh god, I've lost count of the days. This could have been day 4 maybe. So the sunshine came back, or maybe it was day 4 or 5, I don't know. We were there for 7 days, I think. So this is the Armory Park, and it's just kind of a nice little memorial park, again to like Salem's history. It was kind of home to like so many different aspects of like American Civil War and things. So was that English? I don't know. So Count Casimir Pulaski was a Polish nobleman, soldier and military commando who has been called the father of American cavalry and the soldier of liberty. So yeah, there's just a tribute for him there. So we were hoping to get the trolley bus, so we got our tickets and we wanted coffee. I wanted coffee, to be fair. I always want coffee. And yeah, I think we ended up at a small coffee shop called like the Brew Box, and that was like one of the best coffees I had in America, to be honest. And like the cinnamon bun was just amazing, so highly recommend Brew Box. Then the famous Salem trolley bus turned up. So this is a guided tour, and I mean, I'd recommend it to everyone. I can't remember how much it cost, but yeah, it shows all of the famous landmarks all around Salem. So I think Scott, the host, was explaining that Salem is like the sister city of Osaka in Japan. I think that was it. So that was just we've gone way past it now, but that was a landmark to kind of pay homage to.
I'm Scott, and you're not.
And yeah, he had a fantastic like accent. It was just proper like New England. And then I don't know if it was kind of part of the normal tour, but I think because it was such a nice day, they stopped at a place called Winter Island Kayak Park, I think. So across the bay is actually Winter Island, and it was just absolutely stunning. We ended up back on Essex Street, so we got to kind of see some of the amazing like gothic and dark, macabre stores, and yeah, that just, I mean, I have like a horror store, so it was definitely like inspiration for me. And like I said, we were blessed with another beautiful day, you know, you couldn't really ask for better weather. So we ended up at the Black Veil, and this was just opposite the famed witch house, and yeah, and it was just so gnarly in there, and I love that kind of dark aesthetic. Even though I'm not really into the dark stuff, but yeah, no, just aesthetic wise, it's just so beautiful, you know. Yeah, so along Essex Street, there's kind of like I thought it was like the Satanic Temple kind of building. And it's not, it's actually like a massive store, and it's home to Blackcraft Cults, so these are a big, massive, like gothic alt brand. So yeah, they are famous in Salem for having like the biggest witch, and like if you go in, that witch is huge. Then I think we were heading back to kind of the memorial, Charter Memorial. And on the way there's like this artist village, so all of those little hubs have like a resident artist. So then I made a friend along the way. I think that was actually in Essex Street, so I've kind of chopped and changed everything. Then we ended up back at Salem Witch Village. So this is the famous Commonwealth Avenue in Boston. So it was constructed in 1870 in Back Bay, which is an area of Boston, and it's famous for being like a tree-lined the road, basically, just yeah, famous landmark. So nowadays it is famous for being one of the routes of the Boston Marathon. We got dropped off outside the famous Boston Public Library. So this was actually one of the newer entrances, so I was a bit kind of like deflated when we got there. I thought, oh my god, is this the right building kind of thing? And inside there was a news channel, GBH, not grievous bodily harm. They were kind of setting up. So we had a quick look around, we ended up in the courtyard, and I was kind of taken away with that. It was very pretty, like proper New England build, and taken from like European architecture and everything else. Then we trolled around the block, because this was our last day, so we actually had our cases with us, just kind of dragging them along, you know. There was like a Boston fire engine. I haven't got a fascination with fire engines. I think I'm just like a dog or something. I just see it and I'm like, oh my god, fire engine. These are duck tours, so these are land and sea tours, and we didn't have time to go on. So then we ended up around the block, so we'd made a massive circle and ended up at the famous part of the Boston Public Library, so the more world-renowned part, and it's just absolutely stunning. I think it's one of the most stunning buildings I've ever been in, to be honest. We ended up in the Abbey Room, which is famous for its Abbey Room murals, and it tells the story of Galahad and his quest for the Holy Grail. So documents his trek to Jerusalem and then back. And what was next? I think we went downstairs after that. We had tea, and that was kind of our last leg of the journey. Before we booked an Uber and headed for Boston Logan Airport again, which is a massive airport, so be sure to kind of review everything trek wise. I don't know, is that good travel advice? So yeah, once again we ended up from Boston Logan all the way to Dublin, and it was a long wait for our next flight. We were absolutely dead, and then of course Dublin to Exeter, and here I am sat here telling you about it all. How was that for a video? I don't know. Hopefully I can edit this and make it sound very interesting. But yeah, all in all, highly recommend it. And for anyone who's kind of nervous, like especially if you're UK based and you've heard all about this kind of like controversy around like travel to the US and whether or not they check your phones, if you've got something to hide, then I'd advise getting a burner phone or something. But I mean, I've been quite outspoken on certain things, and you know, I didn't get stopped. TSA was very hectic. You know, I ended up losing my boarding pass at one point in Boston, so I was a bit stressed and things, but that was just because TSA rush you and then kind of throw you into the x-ray machine and they're like, right, spread. Right. But I mean, it was such a fabulous like experience, and like I said, it was my mom's birthday present, so happy birthday again. I think I've still got jet lag, to be honest. But that's it. If you enjoyed that, please do subscribe. And I don't know, stay awesome, stay classy, be kind.